Hello, my angel buddies. I was totally inspired today. I do the ACIM Now. If you Google that, on that front page, if you go down, they have this great little thing called the Oracle. And it's a little spiral thing that'll spiral around, and you click it, and it pulls up some passage in A Course in Miracles. It's kind of my version of tarot reading. And I see what Holy Spirit would have me know today. And so I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is. And so today it showed up, workbook lesson 338. I am affected only by my thoughts. And what this really brought up for me is kind of this series of thoughts that have been around for a while, and there are more downloads that come into it periodically. And I thought I'm going to explore this with you guys today. And so many of you know my background is a physician, and I studied a lot of anatomy and physiology, and I actually really enjoyed it. And so I call this spiritual anatomy and spiritual physiology because it kind of puts it together. Like, what are we doing? Really? I mean, it's mind training, but where do we hold these thoughts? Where do we hold memories? Where do we hold any of this shit that we, are trying to sort through? And I have something on my website or my YouTube channel, and I put it in the chat room. It's ACIM Calico. If you Google that, you'll come to the channel, and there's a lot of information in there. I put in a lot of music this last week. I have tons of music over the years. I've collected links, and so I put a bunch of that in. But one of the things that's in there is, if you scroll down on the videos, there's this little video, The Brain versus the Mind. And this will really kind of talk about what we're talking about here today. So the brain, which is that physical piece within the skull that we see all knowing and all that, all it is, this is the battery for the body. Okay. This is all the brain does. It gets the body to move or not move, and that's all it is. It's not where thoughts are. Thoughts don't live in the brain. And this really confuses most neurophysiologists. They go nuts with this, trying to figure out, where do we think? We don't think up here. This is like the best, most exotic radio transmitter of all time. So what we do hold in the brain is any perception. Remember, we're talking about, we're seeing through the perceptual world, and what we're doing is flipping the coin to see it only through truth. So all perception is held in the brain, and this is part of our problem. Because, and I'm sure you have this experience. I remember at one time thinking there was a certain male perfume that when I would smell it, I would get all these fond, warm, fuzzy feelings of this guy I dated that used to wear it, and I really loved the smell of it. I mean, I'm sure you all have versions of this. The same thing is if we see a woman that looks like our mother, and we haven't dealt with our mother, it brings up mom issues. So, that's what's held in the brain. All these sensations are connected to fears. Okay. So if we have a strong feeling along with some projected sensation that we take in, that's stored in the brain. Okay, so if we hear someone yelling, and I had a raging father, so if I hear someone yelling here, that immediately gets set up with raging father. and then I have fear. Or the smell of a ex-lover. It's the same thing. It's not just bad things, it's good things too. And they all need to be kind of separated and reinterpreted and all that. Now, where we do the thought mechanism of reinterpreting, and what we're doing in mind training here, is seeing a projection or a strong feeling or a thought like I'm sick. A belief can come up. That's coming from the one mind of ego or the one mind of God. Now, none of us learned how to tune into the channel for the one mind of God, because our parents taught us how to tune into the channel of fear, usually. And so that's where we go to. So this mind training is taking all these sensations that we hold in our brain, and if you can see it again, is it just a giant radio transmitter, and there's this channel called fear. And so we take in, okay, someone's yelling, and then you have an immediate fear reaction. It's because we're tuned into the fear channel on our satellites. We don't know how to tune into the God station, the truth station, the love station. And that's what the mind training is allowing us to do, is to change that channel. And the more we do it, the more skilled we become at it. And then that becomes the default channel that we go to. But initially, our default is based on fear. And that's why it seems so hard to do this work. It feels hard. And it feels like it's endless and it'll never stop. Well, that's not the case. It's just we have to get good at practicing going, okay, I'm judging. I don't want to judge this situation. I want to love it. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. And then Holy Spirit puts, and turns the channel to the love station going, here's another way of looking at it. And as we do this more and more and more, and this goes back to that age-old joke, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Well, this is how you get to heaven. Practice, practice, practice. And keep practicing, asking, Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. And the nice thing is you guys are good at this point of seeing what you're feeling. You can actually, a lot of you see the projections immediately. Oh, there's a projection. Oh, many, when you're first starting, you have to first see what you're feeling. Oh, it's like, I'm not happy. Great, that's the place we begin. We're tuned into the fear channel. And those are where all the feelings come up that aren't joy. So we identify the feeling, ask to see it differently through the eyes of love. And then we're given downloads because we're tuned into the truth station. We get downloads on how to see these things differently. None of this is personal. It's not in our brains. It's a channel. It's in the airwaves. It's in the airwaves. It's like a radio station. And we just have to get good on changing that station, dialing it to the truth network. That's all this is. That's all this is. That's all the mind training is. And the more we do it, the more we do it, the more we do it. Now it's like when you start seeing things, you're already into the truth network. You don't have to mess around with feelings and then seeing projections. It's automatically just, you go to truth. You go to love. Does it take time? Well, the Course says, no, it doesn't take time. It did for me. I had a backlog of perceptions that I made very real. And I had to go through each one of them one at a time. Every single time I had a feeling come up, oh man, it's not love. I'm not loving this. I'm not loving this. Great. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. And that's why that's why we're doing this. And I just wanted to give you the sense this is not personal. This is, we just are not dialed in to the right network. And there's only one ego network, and there's only one truth network. And we all share those. And that's why, you know, your stories can be completely different from my story. And they all are. They're all different. But the correction is exactly the same. And that's what it says in the Course in Miracles. The correction is always the same, even though the stimulus that we're picking out of the ego network, and for me, it was angry men. Oh, I had to work on angry men for a long time. Didn't like angry men, did not like angry men. Well, I had so many, you know, connections with my perceptions that I had to see differently. So every time another angry man would come into the network, I'd want to take it down the same ego road going, yeah, stay away from them, you know, hide. That was my first reaction. When Dad would get ragey, I mean, we learned, Mom, my brother and I learned, well, disappear as quickly as possible, as if your life depended on it. So when I'd hear angry men come in, which is my perception, an angry man, it would go immediately into fight and flight. Get out of here. Don't stick around. Don't try and stay with the feeling. And I had to work on the fight and flight because, you know, then the cancer came and I wanted to flight. I wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to believe it. And I had to stay. No, stay here. You don't like what's going on. Great. Ask Holy Spirit to see it differently. And then Holy Spirit would change the channel to the one truth network that we all are connected to also. Once we get good at changing channels. And I'd get downloads from Holy Spirit of how to see it differently. So this is the mechanism of why we're doing the mind training. We learned we have very bad habits. In the text, it calls it mind wandering. In reality, it's just a bad habit. And the only way to get rid of bad habits is to practice some good habits, to replace the bad habits. And this is no different with mind training. We're training our mind how to see everything differently, not through projection and sensation, through the loving eyes of God. Two separate channels, no crossover. So that's why we have to have a single desire. If we have if we have two desires like me with cancer, no, I want the loving mind of God and I want to be healed. Well, you can't change the channel. You can't have both of them come in. You ever played with a radio? I don't know, this is my old age, but you know, if you would mess with the channels and you were in between channels, what you got was static. So you've got to pick. I want the peace of God, period, or I stay with the fear. There really is no in between with this. And once you start getting good with this, you know, it's almost like a superhero power that we all have, but we never learned how to use it. So I'm just telling you, use one hand and turn that one dial back to the truth station. You're hooked into ego right now. And the way you make that shift is state what you're hearing out of the ego network, be clear with it, and then, Holy Spirit, help me See this through the eyes of love. And then Holy Spirit will actually change the channel. And you'll get downloads of how to see this through love. And once you start doing this on a regular basis, whatever was, I mean, like angry men, angry men now, I laugh. When I hear an angry man, I actually start giggling. I chuckle, which I don't try to do in front of them because it just makes them angrier. But, I really get it for myself. It's no longer, I'm not hooked because I'm no longer in that ego land with that particular topic. I'm totally tuned into the loving channel. And it varies with all of the various things I go through. I mean, it's not like you just get good on one thought, one projection. You have to do this with all of them. And that's why it seems to take a long time. And Roland, I so thank you for sharing the last time, because you were talking about how you saw that you did this over and over and over, had these same thoughts, different situations, different people, but they were the same thoughts. And that's the way it is. So every time we have, that trigger happen, like I'm having some strong fear thoughts or guilt thoughts or confusion thoughts or whatever, it's me having to really see what I'm feeling, state it to yourself. Holy Spirit's listening all the time. And then Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. And then Holy Spirit changes the channel, and then you'll get some kind of download. And all I can say is it's practice. It's a skill. And there's a lot of skill involved in this. It's like you have to see that you're in the wrong channel, and then you have to ask for help, and then you have to hear downloads. And they happen all the time, very clearly, actually, but we're not tuned into them initially. And so this is the practice. It's like, how do you play a piano? Well, you don't just sit down and, play like a performance major. You're in chopstick land for a while. And that's the same with the mind training. And it's just through our commitment to see everything through the peace of God, the love of God, that allows us to move into this world that we don't know exists until we do. And then once we do, it gets easier. It's like, oh my God, I'm not happy. I mean, that's my I use that from the moment with cancer. And I had all these lovely, hospice people around me just going, oh, you're such an angel, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I'm not happy. I don't care how much nice things you say to me. I'm not happy. And you can, love me from here to eternity. I don't love myself. So how can I receive anything that anyone's giving me that's loving? Because I'm stuck in ego reception. And so practicing it steadily over time. And that's why at some point become the happy learner. And you can do this quite intentionally. Because as soon as you start seeing that, what was the lesson again? I am affected only by my thoughts. And I'm in charge of what I think. You see, I don't put that together initially. I'm just being run around like a ring in my nose, led by ego. Here, react to this. Here, react to this. Here, react to this. And I did. Until I learned, whoa, wait, okay, I'm starting to catch on to this. And now it's kind of like, I know instantly, no one needs to tell me. I know instantly when I'm projecting, because it feels horrendous. That was the name of one of our sessions. Projections feel horrendous. And, as soon as I have that horrendous feeling, well, I am clear there's something I need to do because my thoughts are guiding me into a very bad neighborhood in that neighborhood, I only suffer greatly. And the only one that can help me out of it is Holy Spirit. I can't help any of you out of your neighborhoods. That's why I love all these ACIM gurus, that say, I've got this, you just follow me. No, I can't help you. If you're willing to help yourself, I can point. Because I've been in all those bad neighborhoods. I know every alley in those bad neighborhoods. Been there. Suffered greatly. And now it's like I know how to get out of them very quickly. And it really is the power of prayer. First of all, having a single desire, seeing what you're feeling that isn't happy. Pray to see it differently through the eyes of love. And then listen for the download. And the download is never about doing anything. It is the correction of, how did this even happen? It's like the angry men. The download for me was really seeing where I learned that bad behavior. Dad would be angry, drunk and angry. And I knew as a kid, do not let him see you, disappear, hide, go outside, but get away. And it was an automatic reflex. But when I got this download, it was like, oh, I can only be affected by my thoughts. And my thoughts take me into this fearful place. And it's like, there's nothing happening. Someone's having some anger. It's not a big deal. Feelings are not a big deal. They just show us that we're listening to probably the wrong station. If we're not happy, then we're listening to the wrong station. And this is where it's not in your head. Again, I've said this so many times, it's not personal, but we never learned how to see everything through love. I mean, I'm sure they're out there. I really do think there are parents out there that are, I hope, I hope there are parents out there teaching their kids to tune into the love channel. But I had Fear Channel. It was all about how to protect yourself. It was all about how to, that was pretty much all they were immigrants, they were first generation. They were just trying to survive. So what I got from them was how to survive. They weren't wrong for it. Those were the only tools they had. They were the only tools they had. Now, as as a mature human, I don't know, as a human on the planet at this moment, I've gotten how I've made those weird connections that have caused me to suffer my whole life, because I was in total survival mode and anger mode and protection mode. And now it's like I have the wherewithal to see that I can only be affected by my thoughts, and I have the ability to change my thought at any time. As soon as I recognize I'm seeing something through some survival patterning or anger patterning, I can then stop, put the brakes on. Okay, this is not a good neighborhood for me. And I don't know how I got here, and I don't know how to get out of it. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. Seriously, they're magic words. They access your superhuman power. They really do. I can't say that enough. And so, as soon as I ask for help to see something through love instead of survival or fear or anger or whatever else other feeling I'm having, it makes the switch. Holy Spirit says, okay, come over here. And then I just stay in kind of quiet contemplation if it's a big one. A lot of them are immediate, but some of them are not. And I have to stay kind of quiet. And as soon as I want to turn the channel back to the old neighborhood ego. I have to recognize it. Holy Spirit, bring it back, bring it back. I need your help on seeing this, separating this out. This is something happened, usually when I was a child. Then I made it mean something. It can only be affected by my thoughts. So I had some sensation, sound, sight, and then I made it mean something and fuse those two together. Now those are in your brain. But then to change it, you've got to get outside your body. And this is the magic. This is the miracle, the Course in Miracles. Takes you outside your body, and you can start playing in the ethereal world of how am I'm seeing this? Well, I'm scared shitless. Okay, good. That's a great start. Do you want to see that differently? Yes, I do. Then ask for help. Okay, Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. And then listen for the guidance. And it's not to-do guidance. It's just guidance on helping you sort out the fear that you have fused with thought patterns, and Holy Spirit allows you to separate them so that you can be around fearful things, screaming men, sickness. Those are some of the ones I've worked through. And they don't automatically bring up this clenching of terror that somehow I'm going to die. And I will if I continue thinking that. And that's where, by unfusing all these ideas, we get how eternal we are, and how one we are, and how loving we are, and how innocent we are. And that's it. That's it. It's the answer to everything. Absolutely everything. And all I can say, and I think there's a huge speed up happening right now. And Tuesday, just because it's a thought that just crossed my mind, we're having Matt Garrett come in, and he's going to share with us. He's absolutely lovely. I think he just turned 25. He is profound. Yeah, Tammy, yeah. He's profound. He has this at 25. I was talking to someone not too long ago. I was 60 when I started doing mind training. 60. He's 25. I had a lot more material I had to go through. It didn't just, it took something. It took commitment on my part, willingness and commitment. But he's going to be here on Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, just keep playing with whatever. And also, I know he's totally open to questions. So if you have questions, ask him. But he's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I know there's no difference. Age is in my mind. It's not reality. But he's this beautiful 25-year-old. Really. He glows. And it's just kind of like, for me, thinking, wow, at 25, I didn't have an idea. I had not a clue. I had no clue. I was bent on total survival, getting a better job, making more money, putting money away for, retirement at 25. I mean, it was like, am I going to have children? Am I not going to have? I mean, it was all in the horizontal. There was nothing vertical about my life at 25. And yet we have a lot more people. And that's why this conversation is erupting all over the world, in every kind of person you could possibly meet. And it's like, and the way they're doing it is exactly the way we're doing it here. One thought at a time, pulling back projections, going, no, they don't live out there. There is nothing out there. I can only be affected by my thoughts. I can only be affected by my thoughts, not people, not places, not food, none of that. It's I can only be affected by my thoughts. So with that being said, we're going to say goodbye to all our YouTubers. Bye, YouTubers. And we're going to have a little altar session. Hang on. I don't want to end the meeting. Okay, here.